Number 9. Ray Tensing. 25-year-old Ray Tensing was working as an officer at the University of Cincinnati when he managed to destroy his entire career. Ray shot an unarmed black man during an off-campus traffic stop in 2015. The college officer approached 43-year-old Samuel DuBose for not having a license plate on the front of his vehicle. Tensing asked DuBose to step out of the car, then fatally shot him in the head while he was sitting in the driver's seat with his seatbelt still on. The victim had just turned the keys in the ignition a few moments earlier. Immediately after firing, Tensing fell backwards. DuBose fell forward, and the weight of his body pressed against the car's gas pedal, causing the vehicle to quickly accelerate and crash into a nearby telephone pole. During police questioning, Tensing claimed DuBose was dragging him down the street, arguing that he had no other choice but to shoot the victim. But footage from Tensing's body cam told a very different story and showed that DuBose did not drag him or attempt to harm him in any way at all. According to the prosecutors who put him on trial for murder, the shooting was completely unprovoked. Tensing was fired from the police department, but was given a $250,000 settlement payout after the police union sued. This decision was met by public outrage. He also managed to avoid prison time when the jury deadlocked and a mistrial was declared. The charges were eventually dismissed with prejudice, meaning that the same charges cannot be filed against Tensing in the future. Number 8. The Uvalde Shooting. An unspeakable tragedy struck the small town of Uvalde, Texas on May 24, 2022, when a gunman entered an elementary school and opened fire on staff and students, leaving 2 teachers and 19 children dead. Over the next few months, the police response to the shooting fell under scrutiny by both authorities and the court of public opinion, with many believing that if responding officers had acted sooner, many lives would have been saved. Texas State Trooper Crimson Elizondo was one of the first officers at the scene within 2 minutes of the first shot being fired. She had recently been hired, but being new on the job didn't spare her from widespread criticism. And even though Elizondo wasn't a designated school officer, the community believed she and others who went to the scene should have responded more effectively. Elizondo was fired from her job 1 week after the shooting. Another police officer who received backlash for his response to the incident was Ruben Ruiz, the now widowed husband of Eva Morales, one of the teachers who was killed. Members of the community were outraged by surveillance footage of Ruiz standing in a nonchalant manner, checking his phone during the active shooting. He resigned from his position in late 2022, months after the incident. There's video evidence of multiple officers standing around while gunshots can be heard in the background of the elementary school. It shocked and disgusted many that these enforcers of the law stood idly by while children were getting killed. In early 2023, the Texas Department of Public Safety announced that it had fired Sergeant Sean Maldonado and suspended Texas Ranger Ryan Kindle. During the statement, DPS Chief Stephen McCraw said that the agency did not plan to take any further disciplinary measures against officers involved in the shooting. 91 of the 376 responding officers were DPS employees. Number 7. Eddie F Gonzalez. In 2021, a safety officer for the Long Beach Unified School District in California, named Eddie Gonzalez, broke up a fight between 18-year-old Manuela Mona Rodriguez and another young girl. The brawl stemmed from an online feud between the two that had reportedly been dragging on for a while. It spilled over from outside a high school and into a road, and Gonzalez threatened to pepper spray the young women if they didn't stop hitting each other. Rodriguez threatened her opponent and started walking to her car with her boyfriend and brother, while Gonzalez followed behind, ordering the three to stop. But they didn't, and as they drove away, Gonzalez fired 2 shots at the vehicle, with one striking Rodriguez in the head. She was left brain dead, and her family made the difficult decision to take her off life support after doctors said there was nothing more to be done for her. According to the Los Angeles Times, legal experts described Gonzalez's actions as excessive and an outright violation of generally accepted police protocol for shooting at moving vehicles. They said a manslaughter charge would be appropriate, but it came as a surprise to many when Los Angeles County District Attorney George Gascon filed a murder charge against the officer. He pleaded not guilty, and his lawyer argued that Gonzalez believed the three suspects in the car had committed serious crimes and that he had a valid reason to try detaining them. But the judge refused the attorney's request to dismiss the charge, and the case seems to be ongoing. Number 6. Artie Rodriguez. 52-year-old school resource deputy Artie Rodriguez was a longtime member of the Florida Sheriff's Office with a clean record when he suddenly found himself in trouble in early 2023. To the community's shock, he was accused of crossing lines when it came to his conduct with a student. More specifically, Rodriguez reportedly shared inappropriate content with the minor and provided the student with a vape. He was arrested during an ongoing investigation into whether or not his misconduct may have gone even further than what authorities believed. They're looking into his behavior both on and off duty and at places other than the school he worked at. In a statement, Walton County Sheriff Michael Atkinson said, "This is a long-standing member of our agency, but I won't mince words. We will not, under any circumstances, tolerate this type of behavior from someone in a position of authority." Rodriguez faces charges of engaging in a romantic relationship with a student by an authority figure, distribution of harmful material on school property, use of a two-way communication device to facilitate a felony, battery, and providing nicotine to a minor. If found guilty of these charges, the former school resource deputy could face years behind bars. Number 5. Sean Getz Show. When a fight broke out between two teenage girls at a school in Kenosha, Wisconsin in early 2022, an off-duty officer named Sean Getz sprang into action. Surveillance footage of the cafeteria showed Getz pulling the two young girls apart, but not everyone was happy about what he did next. In the video, the officer seems to kneel on one of the two minors, a young black woman, and presses his weight into her neck while she's in a chokehold for about 20 seconds. The footage sparked outrage throughout the community, along with intense debates over whether Getz took his response too far. He resigned after the incident went viral, but there were more problems on the horizon. The girl and her family are suing Getz for allegedly using unreasonable and excessive force and acting with malice or in reckless disregard. In the paperwork, the suing party accuses the man of placing the student in an unlawful chokehold. The lawsuit also claims that the girl suffered a brain injury, spinal strain, recurring headaches, and mental trauma after the incident, and she also had to change schools. The family filed a federal lawsuit against the city of Kenosha and the Kenosha Unified School District, too, for allegedly failing to properly train Getz and overlooking his reputation for simply having a short temper. Attorney Sam Hall, who is representing both Getz and the school district, said that he plans to vigorously defend the accused. In a statement, he pointed out how authorities didn't press charges against Getz and how the state attorney found no evidence that he violated the girl's civil rights. Hall also claimed that Getz responded with a trained law enforcement technique. The controversial incident happened less than 2 years after major protests broke out in Kenosha after police shot an unarmed black man named Jacob Blake. Number 4. Rayna Butler. Law enforcement officers are expected to maintain integrity even while off the clock. Unlike some jobs, what they do in their personal life can easily ruin their career. In 2022, a school resource officer for the Donaldsonville Police Department in Georgia learned this lesson the hard way. Corporal Rayna Butler was arrested for allegedly confronting a neighbor after giving a statement to police against her brother. During the conversation, Butler reportedly told the neighbor she saw his name listed on the case report and supposedly threatened to get his probation revoked for being a witness. The neighbor reported this to the police, and Butler was soon charged with felony influencing a witness. She was booked into the Miller County Jail and was later released. Butler was suspended without pay, but was reinstated to an office position about a week after the arrest, thanks to help from the city council, who voted in favor of allowing her to work a clerical job while the investigation continues. Whether she'll resume her previous position depends on the outcome of the case. Number 3. Scott Peterson. On Valentine's Day in 2018, an armed gunman named Nicholas Cruz went inside Marjorie Stoneman Douglas High School in Parkland, Florida, and opened fire on staff and students, killing 17 and injuring 17 more. While the shooter was sentenced to life in prison for his crimes, he wasn't the only person blamed for the tragedy. 56-year-old Broward County Sheriff's Deputy Scott Peterson was the only armed officer on duty that day, and he's being accused of standing outside the school during the shooting. Prosecutors have pointed to surveillance footage to support their allegations that Peterson did nothing to stop the situation going on inside. In the video, he can be seen leaning against a wall in the school's courtyard, taking no action to investigate the gunshots. Peterson was charged with 7 counts of neglect of a child, 3 counts of culpable negligence, and 1 count of perjury. According to prosecutors, he was the legal caregiver of the 3,200 students at school that day, and he allegedly could have done a lot more to protect them. If convicted, Peterson could spend many of his remaining years behind bars. In an interview with Men's Health journalist Eric Barton, he maintained his innocence in the case, claiming that it all happened so fast. He also argued that he didn't realize gunshots were going off until sometime into the ordeal, that he couldn't tell where the shots were coming from, and that he didn't realize they were coming from inside the school building. Peterson is slated to go on trial in late February 2023. Number 2. Sean Lorenzo Golfin. 42-year-old school safety officer Sean Lorenzo Golfin was an 11-year veteran of the Duval County Sheriff's Office in Florida by the time he was accused of crimes. According to records, he was arrested by the Atlantic Beach Police Department in late 2022 on charges of lewd and lascivious battery, contributing to the delinquency of a minor, and encouraging or enticing a minor. These are all serious offenses. The arrest report was heavily redacted, so the details of the incident are obscure, but the information available stated that the victim and their mother were spending a weekend at Golfin's home when something went wrong. An officer met with the victim and their mom at a local crisis center before the arrest to get their statements. Golfin resigned from his position at a local high school and turned in both his gun and badge. At the time the story broke, the investigation into his alleged misconduct was ongoing. He was taken to the county jail and was held on a $35,000 bail. School Police Chief Greg Burton described the situation as tremendously disappointing and said the behavior Golfin is accused of falls well short of the standards of conduct we have for our officers. The case is ongoing, so we'll have to wait for sentencing. Number 1. Coy Taka. 34-year-old Coy Taka's law enforcement career took a turn in 2021 when he was arrested for stalking his estranged wife while off duty. At the time, he was working as a school resource officer in Knoxville, Tennessee, when problems started between him and the victim, who accused Taka of refusing to leave her alone unless he needed to communicate about their children. According to an arrest report, Taka stalked and harassed her for several months, spanning from May to August 2021. It started after the victim filed for divorce, along with an order in their parenting agreement that barred Taka from going near her while they were exchanging their kids between visits. Taka allegedly continued contacting his wife through texts and social media with threatening messages. In one reported incident, he was accused of sending her 59 texts in one day. 45 of the messages were supposedly sent after the victim told Taka to stop contacting her unless it had something to do with the kids. A few weeks later, he entered the woman's workplace and started cussing at her and throwing items, according to the report, which accused Taka of repeatedly following the victim and contacting her after she made it clear that she didn't want to hear from him. He allegedly confronted her in person, both in public and private, including at her personal residence. Taka was eventually charged with aggravated stalking. Shortly after news of the arrest broke, the Knoxville Police Department confirmed that he was an active employee but had been reassigned from his post at a local school. It's unclear where the case stands today. Thanks for watching. Would you rather send your child to a school with a resource officer who has an excellent policing record but a complicated personal life, or an officer who has some minor red marks on his record? Let me know in the comments below.